Welcome back to the DNA Pest Control Podcast with Daniel and Aaron.
Yes.
All right. So today we'll jump right into it because usually when we have guests, we like to take a little bit of time. And it's usually a little bit longer of an episode. And so this pest guest, Aaron, who is it?
Yes, this is Benjamin, and he is from Mexico City. He's a managing director of E-Control out there. Benjamin, can you hear us?
Yes, very well. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
And so, Benjamin, what exactly do you do?
I've been working for the pest control industry since 1989. And today my business is we manufacture and we produce gel for roach and ant control and some other insecticides used in our industry. These are manufactured in Barcelona, and my partner and I distribute this in Mexico and some in the U.S. This is the basic product that we run, but we run more than 100 products in our portfolios. These are the ones we produce. These are registered in the U.S., but also registered in Mexico and in Latin America and in 19 countries in Europe.
Okay, awesome. And so those are the main ones, is the gel baits is what you mainly sell?
Not at this point because it's in an early stage in the U.S. and in Mexico. I've been selling the whole portfolio of products since 1993, 94. My rationale and my pre-business was I sold out my business to what is called today the Ceres. Priorly was Univar, Volpac, and Van Waters and Rogers, and I started the international division for what you have today in the Ceres in pest control, and we launched in more than 87 countries an export program from the U.S. into these countries to sell pest control professional products, equipment, insecticide, bait stations, everything.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're kind of a distributor down there in Mexico and throughout those countries?
Correct.
Awesome. Okay. And what kind of got you into the pest control industry back in 1989?
Actually, I was working in a multinational called Ciba Geigy, what was the prior industry parent company of today's Syngentas, and they had a hygiene division. And I was very interested in the business because we started to work on animal health hygiene. And it was basically the pest control in the animal health sector. And it was driven to the professional business very easily. So that's how we entered, how I personally entered this. And I found out a niche that I fell in love with in 1989. But that year was the first time I attended the Pest World that was in Miami in the Fontainebleau Hotel. And I said, this is what I want to do. And that's how it started.
Wow.
Originally, I had my own business. Yeah, and this is how it started. I started treating grain, basically all the grain for the largest grain milling company here in Mexico that sells bakery. It's called Bimbo. And later on, this group came in and bought my company. And I sold out my business and started to develop a distribution company for them in Mexico and later in Latin America. And that's how we grew. This is the bottom line, how we started in this business.
Gotcha. Okay. And then that kind of transitioned into you because now you are making products, correct?
Let me put a little point here. Yes, we've been manufacturing products since 2004. And originally for the vector business, the mosquito control. And my rationale was, since I started my own operation, was to try to walk away a little bit about the chemical insecticide part of the business and more into the biorational product lines and more into the concept of less pollutant products. That's how we entered this. And baits for me, it's one of the great solutions because they really work in and have a residuality um, activity, and these are less not only pollutant but less damaging to the environment. The resistance we find are much less than we have normally with insecticides, and that's the rationale behind. My intention was to move a little bit more the industry into the biorational sector. We move out from some of the most potentially damaging insecticides and chemicals that were used in the industry, and we were able to drive into more advanced technology. Initially, it was the innovation, but also what we live today into what is more active sector that is working on the concept of food safety or food quality. A few years back, today is what's going to drive the industry, not only in terms of less pollutant, but also in whatever we consume, it has to be in a healthier environment.
Gotcha. Okay. And so that kind of turned into, because now your bread and butter is the gel baits.
I wouldn't say that because we are in the early stage of the registrations, but because we are very active in the mosquito control arena, we're very active today in the possibilities of implementing LED technology. For example, we have a large consumption of LEDs now for fly management control, and this is something that's not been new for the industry. This is something that is really working strong for the users now in several areas where food industry and also for example the tourism, where the use and consumption of electricity is run now by the consumption and also the CO2 footprint that you leave behind. It's the rationale of the industry in the electrical industry is that the use of UVA technology, as long as the one we've been using in the past, it's a UVA technology developed by a wavelength that goes through a tube that has rare earth minerals, the ones that you have normally in your LED, in your screen, not only in your computer but also in your house screen. This is something that's becoming really, really demanding, and LED is going to move fast away from this UVA technology on those tubes into something that is less consumption of energy. It has more as life shelf because a tube made of LED will last 4 years, while a normal UVA is only 6 months. So there's a few things that we're working on right now.
Oh, God. And so you're talking about fly lights?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so
some of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those
are the ones we are.
What other fly control?
For example, there's several. It's baiting also. We are using catching through these several devices. These bags are served with organic matter that traps the flies in, and then you can disperse of them. Things are not really in terms of an insecticide active. We use some of the IGRs basically, or some of the atomizers, manures, some other stuff that can be worked. For example, in mosquito control, we're using something that is called monomolecular filaments. And this is to control larvae. For example, when you have a big pond and there's a lot of production of mosquitoes, it can be a backyard, it can be a golf course, it can be even a still water like a fountain, or even a tire that's been dumped out there in the field. We use now these monomolecular filaments that are, imagine that you can come close to the surface of the water and you apply to there a little surface film. That prevents the mosquito from being able to breathe. And this is something that controls the mosquito production for more than 21 days without having any damage to the environment. So the idea today is to move into the future with less impact into the activities we've done for the years. That's the whole rationale.
Gotcha. Okay. So your main focus now is kind of reducing the amount of pesticide damage that can be caused out, as we're treating these areas, and you're coming up with products that are on the more environmental safe side of things.
Correct.
Awesome. Okay. What are some of the other things that you guys have been doing or have done to accomplish that?
We have some, for example, some electronic wavelength systems to prevent rodents from entering warehouses. We have, for bird exclusion, we use deterrents are based on gels, or deterrents are based on noise, or deterrents are based on lasers. The idea is to implement new technology that works. This is very important. To be in the early stages of technology, it takes some error trials. Sometimes the things that are launched as the best are not really totally functional. They might be in the future, but it takes a little time. So we try to find out what is really working to work with that. For example, now it's a mandatory option in some of the factories in Europe to use these boxes that are multi-catch boxes for rodents. You bait the rodent through several seeds and nuts, and they come inside this box, and then after they go in deep looking for more bait, and they fall into these small pools where they die. And these are based on phenol or alcohol, and you prevent the environment to have the contamination of a dead rodent that is being controlled. And it's capturing those stations, those traps. These are called intelligent traps. That they send the signal directly to your cell phone, and when they capture these rodents, and these are not lethal in terms of other species can be affected.
So they're only opened, or there's only an opening large enough for a mouse or a rat to get in?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And placing areas where you have to have no presence.
Gotcha. Okay. Perfect. And then on essentially the development of the gel baits and ant baits, you did mention that that one is not completed yet. That's not live out there.
No, we've been selling those for years in Europe. I mean, in Europe, it's been there sell for years. What I mentioned, and it's been sold in the U.S. about a year and a half ago. The problem is registration in Latin America takes a little longer. These baits have been in the market for more than 10 years already. And these are based on different matrix. And for example, one of these baits, what you think is you normally think about syringe, products such as Maxforce or AdBio or all these. You're going to treat American roach, which is Periperita americana. We have these baits are blocks. And these blocks, you actually put these blocks in the sewers, and the roach come into the bait and eat from the box and goes back into with the community. And they actually, because of the prophylaxis, they share some of these either by the feces or by consumption. And these are extremely effective. One small bait block that is 20 grams can control maybe 200, 300 roaches. And the effect also controls on those that are born after the death of that can come out from the oteca. So the idea is to have the prophylaxis and the system, the natural system where the roaches develop and where ants are developed to have a control. We call this the bionomy of the insect to spread out the products. It's not just a regular gel that is a 30 gram syringe. In this case, we have these blocks are 20 grams. We have cartridges that are 300 grams. You want to place in a larger populations. For example, when we apply to this huge development where there's maybe 70 small apartments, and you have to apply a lot. This is one of the things we use.
Oh, gotcha. And so these blocks you just place, and that they're just going to that and eating off of that then?
Correct.
Gotcha. And
it's a way to reduce.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. They are mixed with, it could be an active ingredient with an IGR, a growth, anti-growth developer, regulator, and that helps a lot because you can easily break 3 or 4 generations and reduce the number of applications. This is in line with what I mentioned to you earlier. We look to reduce the number of applications of the insecticides we use.
Gotcha. Yeah. You're looking for the least. Now, with a block that you are placing in an area, does it go inside a station to keep, outside pests, from getting into that?
It can be, or it can also be applied in what we call, the technology we normally call cracking crevice. It can, for example, if you open the top of the sewer, and then you just drive in the side of the sewer, you drive a little line with, it could be a cable or it could be just a line with 2 or 3 blocks hanging in there, the roaches will come to it. It is attractive for that.
Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. And do you currently, do you have a facility here in the U.S.?
We don't. E-Control does not have one. We are opening today with, and we're expecting to have that by the end of the year, a location in the East Coast, because we serve from the different countries in the Caribbean and Latin America.
Oh, okay, perfect.
We currently have distribution. We have distribution of the bait in the U.S. We do have that. It is called Ultimatum the Bait, and you can find it through PCS, Paragon, and the Target line and the Target group.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so they can find that product there.
Yeah, it's called Ultimatum.
Ultimatum. Okay, awesome.
Nice. Benjamin, something I wanted to ask you, because you've been in the industry for a little over 30 years now, and you're going between multiple countries, distribution, sales, and here in the States, things change so much year after year. A lot of our listeners have been in the industry as long as you, and some of them have been in the industry for just a couple months, and we're always seeing changes. So I'm just curious, in Mexico specifically, do you think they're getting a little bit more strict on what they're allowing to be used, or what's that been like for you?
Your question is very interesting because it presents the past and the future of the industry. It is going to change, and it's changing very fast. Mm-hmm. In the U.S., for example, in the West Coast in California, the use of rodenticide, or the analysis that today's in the line for the pyrethroids, it is something that's going to be changing. That's why we need to move into something that is less damaging, and that your portfolio, the one you carry in your truck or in your car, it has to be something that might be working for you today and in the years ahead. So thinking about biorational products is something that you have to have in your working story today and also in your working story for the future. In Latin America, in some cases, some of these requirements comes later. For example, the rodenticide limitation is not yet in implications, or the glue trap as we have in Europe, that you cannot use glue traps in many of the services. Also in Australia, it's happening, but it will come to everyone. At the end of the day, the industry will be shaped in the same format, because everyone follows the same guidelines, and all of those coming to reach in 5 to 10 years. An example of that is what happened in the past with some of the rodents we used to have. Zinc phosphide was one of those. The use of methyl bromide as a gas is another example. In 10 years, there was no use of that. For example, for those were like me many years ago, the largest termiticide we used to have was chlordane. Today, there's none. So we're going to be seeing more of that, and it will come fast because the environment concern is way too ahead from what it used to be in the past. In the past, it was a forced decision by the industry. Today, it's a demand from the society. There's people today placing Google services information saying environmental pest control. They're looking for something that is eco-friendly. And those are the new clients we're going to have. We're going to have clients that are more sensitive to what is going to happen inside their houses. And it happened with the pandemic. We saw people doing extremely concerned about what's the provider, what you're going to put in my house. So, and disinfection as part of the pest control as well. We have those in the whole world. The industry sustained itself by doing disinfections in many of the countries. And the people coming to your house have to be extremely concerned on what they were going to apply. So that is a thing that is going to become more and more demanding. Your client will have more and more information, and you will need to supply not only the information, but also the result of your work with a proven record that you are respectful to the environment where they live.
Yeah, that is something that we are seeing. Where are some of the areas that you've seen so far that is the least strict?
Africa. In many of the regions in Africa, because the African country has so much wilderness involved, but also they are affected by, for example, malaria, and they're used to the services inside their houses, big spraying applications, long residual resorts. That is something that is still out there, because, for example, in the case of malaria, they need insecticides that are residuals for 6 months. So that changes everything.
Gotcha. Okay. And where is one of the most strict areas that you've seen?
Japan and places like I was going to say something like Scandinavia and Denmark, but no, they also are very conscious in for example in wood control. They still apply long residuals in wood. So I could not say this is the most, but for example, in Latin America, we have places like Brazil where there's an extremely high environmental movement, and today that's going to be faster. The way that things are going to be changing in countries like Brazil, where there is a trend that moves into the green political parties. Then you see immediate effect. For example, in Germany, they do have that. You cannot apply many of the drugs we used to apply today. Germany is one of the most restricted areas to do pest control.
Wow. Okay. And what have they done on that? So are they moving away from pesticides, or is it just getting strict on the side of this is how you use it?
It is phased out. They're phasing out insecticides, but also moving a lot into the botanicals. Botanicals are the new trend worldwide.
Gotcha. Okay. And why would, because you did mention that there's, what country doesn't use glue boards? Australia?
Australia and in the UK, which they have a new policy where they cannot apply glue boards inside in food industry and in general. There is a humane control, and the humane control prevents from using glue boards.
Wow. I mean, God. So what do you think are the repercussions of going this strict? You're taking away some basic things that are non-toxic, but some people may have their opinion of inhumane. What are going to be the consequences that you think will happen?
countries will have, and this is a key element of the situation, the countries will have a new solution to these problems. But in the meantime, the industry has to work more and more into bringing these solutions to it. For example, the alternative for those people in many places would be the use of the CO2 traps. As the one that I mentioned to you earlier, the one that catches the rodents, also the ones that are used like hammer type CO2 effect, that they actually have the rodent and then they apply it's just a trigger that applies a hammer effect in the rodent and dies in the face. But these are things going to be affecting and changing everything.
Gotcha. So they're going to be moving more into that direction than to the glue
Correct.
boards and everything like that. Okay.
Correct.
Well, that will be interesting shaping the pest control world. Definitely. I mean, in the future.
It is getting over. There's also need change in the industry. The strong companies used to be in chemical industries. They're not anymore. You don't have that level of power they used to have in the past, where they are now. They're small new producers bringing new technology that will help the future of the industry.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing is once we get, every time they get a little bit more strict on something, somebody comes out with a new device, something different that can control them either in a better way or a similar way that kind of fits that person's need or that society's need.
It is, and also the consolidation of the industry. What you're facing today in the U.S. and what's happening today in many of the regions is the large companies taking the smaller companies. It's also moving faster the services. The implementation of a large company such as the ones that Rent-A-Kill, Civex, or Rollins with the working group, the doctor with the Rollins group, having more and more and more operations worldwide. That implements an increased standard for the industry. It's not good for the small pops and moms, but the industry itself has more exposure and becomes more proficiency.
Yeah, I can see that.
Nice. So something we like to ask some of the pest guests that come on, just for some of our listeners who are starting their own pest control company or who are just getting in the industry. It'd be nice to get your take on this question. What's a small piece of advice you'd give someone who's just getting in the industry? Because I'm relatively new. I've been in about 2 years and, everything changes so much and I'm always adapting. So what's a good piece of advice that you'd give someone who's just getting in and wants to make this?
Never give up and question everything. Learn from people that have experience before. This is an industry that it is not everything is written. Actually, we have to go out there daily with a new program, a new system in place that we can benefit for. And what I'm trying to say is like if you go out hunting daily, and I'm saying in terms of not only the pests but the industry we serve. You have to be more prepared for that hunt. You have to have a clear strategy. It is a business that is so noble, and I mean in all senses. It's an easy business. You can go out there in the morning and you come back home with the product of your work with 2 or 3 services, and the next day's end. What I'm trying to say is the small business will always be profitable and will grow. The objective of this industry and the way it grows is that you're finding growth in organized and planned growth. A future is where you really find yourself in the future, and this is why the pops and moms are always such a profitable business. Many of them are second or third generation. The idea today is that we can remain like that. Out of the 21 million companies doing pest control. The business is, I'm saying a wrong number. 21 billion service revenue we are part of. Today, 13 of those are into 3 companies. All of the other are in millions of small companies. So we have to have those small companies being served and being educated and with new technology, new equipment, new standards that are meeting today's needs for our communities. So as you mentioned, things change daily. The GPS you bought 4 years ago to drive your car is now it works much better in your cell phone, and you pay $400 for a GPS that you have in your car. It happens, but what we have to do is we have to find out those tools that will get us through the future that we foresee, and we have to find those people that can help us connect with the industry and connect with the services and the results we need to give to the communities we served.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. We do appreciate that. And listen, Benjamin, as we come to a close, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show and talking about your experiences, in the past 30 plus years on the distributing side and the service side. Do you have anything for us before we bring this episode to a close?
I will definitely say thank you for giving me a voice into your podcast. I would love to hear some of the comments from your people on the podcast, and just to open the door to whenever you need a call or whenever you need an advice. If it helps, I'm here. That's what we've been working in our life here. This is an industry that I love, that I am so thankful for what it has given me, and for the friends that I made throughout the world. And that's one of the things that I will end up saying, that in this industry, you're never alone. There's always someone to give you a hand.
That's great. Well, we appreciate that very much, and we'll be in contact. So, this episode will drop soon, but thank you again, Benjamin, for taking time out of your day to come on here with us. And we appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Really my pleasure.
Thank you so much, Benjamin. You have a good day.
Likewise. Bye-bye.
All right. So Benjamin Gomez with eControl. Very interesting on the world side of things. That was kind of cool.
Yeah,
Always hearing it from the outside perspective of kind of what's going on and where we're seeing some changes. Interesting. I'd love the Australian guest that we have had on. Is that really true? You can't use glue boards. That blew my mind.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
I would have thought rat traps they would have got rid of, but glue boards? That's insane.
It's just I feel like they may have to change, because I can see that happening in California eventually.
A glue board?
Well, I can see them saying it can't say captures mice and insects. It has to just say capturing insects, and it can't be big enough for a mouse to fit through. I could see them doing stuff like that,
Yeah, that's the biggest takeaway I'll walk away with. This is essentially the changes that are coming, and even on my opinion, the ridiculous side of it is it's not phasing out. Now, he did say phasing out pesticides, but also they're taking away mechanical trapping methods, which it's funny because, I guess it's more out in the open, right? A glue board you can see. You can see them get stuck. They have videos, and then they die, and everyone feels bad. They don't see anything else that we do.
No.
So, even that trigger one, the CO2 trigger that punches a hole through their head, it's like, if you saw what it did, I don't think you'd like it.
Yeah.
Nobody, I don't care.
Yeah.
When we're talking about a pest and a possible, problem. of diseases and everything. It's like, kill them. Who cares how?
Right. I'm not like a psychopath. Like I don't like enjoy it, but it's like, it's what we have to do. It's our job. You know?
Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah. I'm not freaking like Jeffrey Dahmer playing with animals and like tearing them apart. That's not the idea of pest control, but I guess, I never thought of it like that. Freaking cigar. And you probably do. Actually, I knew a kid that was, he worked here. He had his little thing. He was loving rats and dead things.
Worked. Past tense.
Yeah, it worked. Yeah, no. But very interesting. I did like that. I did like hearing about kind of the world aspect of it and what's happening and where it's going and what's, really the direction. But that just goes to show all of our past episodes, he's from Mexico City, a completely different country, yes, connected to the U.S., but distributing products all throughout the world. But that is so crucial to see and to hear that it's not the U.S. that's changing. Mm-hmm. It's everywhere. It's not just California that's changing. It's everywhere. We're talking countries are changing. Mm-hmm. And what are pest control companies doing to adapt? Him talking about, Terminex and all these larger companies that eat up the 17 or 11 billion or whatever he said of that pie that's there. And then there's millions of others, Terminex is going to be changing with the times, right? Orkin's changing with the times. Those big companies are changing.
Yeah.
They have to. One, they have a bigger spotlight than everybody else.
Sure.
You're Joe Blow running a route by yourself. Yeah, there's not a spotlight on you. No one cares what you do.
Yeah.
You can keep following the old ways, but you're never going to get a piece of that pie larger than what you're already doing.
Yeah.
Those big companies are starting to do it now. The great thing for us who's smaller, more agile, we can start to create those prior to, right? So we can start changing and adapt prior to a massive company. A massive company to implement a whole new system, it's going to take them a year.
At least.
To get it through, trickle through, go through all the processes, have dozens of people look over it. We being the smaller company, we have an advantage to start eating of, that piece of the pie quicker than they can actually adapt to it.
Yeah.
They will get to it, but we can start taking away from them, but be prepared. I think that's the big thing is be prepared to change. If you got anything from this episode, that's what I got is change is coming, change happens, change is always going to be there. You think it's not, you're going to be
in for a rude awakening.
Very.
Yeah.
Very, very.
No, I agree. So definitely good pest guest. Thank you, Benjamin from Mexico City coming on. And yeah, I agree. I think change was the focal point, which we appreciate that. We talk about it a ton on the podcast. If you do like this episode, be sure to like and leave a review on whatever platform you're listening to, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We post every Monday and Thursday. Follow us on our social media so you don't miss out on upcoming episodes. We also have our website as well, where you can directly subscribe to get emails. You can become a guest, or you can submit questions for our end of the month Q&A. But thank you again for listening to the DNA Pest Control Podcast.